from Dan Deal. Are you guys up for collabs or crossovers and Otis appearing in other games?
Absolutely. In fact, Otis has appeared in quite a few different games. Just off the top of my head, he had made an appearance in Saving Mr. Taco, in Rise, the trading card game.
Yeah.
He was in Bounty Battle, and he has also appeared in Rise, the trading card game.
You mentioned that twice.
I did?
Yes.
He has appeared in Rise, the trading card game. Buccaneri showed up in La Mulana 2. I believe she was a shopkeep, which, I mean, is appropriate. So we're always open to have Otis in other titles. In fact, if someone wants to collaborate on something, just shoot us an email. We would love to hear from you.
Yeah.
I've always envisioned that the characters would work very well for a fighting game. I don't know why. Doesn't make any sense.
No, but fighting games rarely do make any sense.
True, I suppose. I suppose in the sense that I really love pixel art, and fighting games have a lot of good pixel art.
Yeah.
So in that case, it makes sense in my head. Also, like, really weird puzzle-like games or those over-the-top sports games, that kind of things, seem to match very well. Like the stuff that you would see on the Game Boy, like Mario Tennis, the RPG or something.
Definitely.
That sounds like something that Otis would appear in. In fact, Otis had been scheduled to appear in quite a few of D-Pad's games. So hopefully sometime in the future, we can make that happen.
Question from Hawkwing. Question about Savant Ascent. What was the process of designing levels around the music? I'm curious how the stages and enemies were planned out and the order the music and gameplay were implemented.
So this is a lot about how Savant created the soundtrack for it. But I can say we were experimenting with something different earlier that year. And Alex started messing around with a soundtrack for a different tune, and me and you, we were just sitting there humming it constantly. Yeah. Just like, damn, this is good. And Alex was just like, I can just make something like this for something else. And when we started looking into what we could do for Savant Ascent Remix. I think back then it was called Savant Ascent Anniversary Edition. Yeah. At least in my head, that tune became sort of like a guiding star for that soundtrack. And then, of course, Alex went and did his thing.
Yes. I mean, originally, with the Savant Ascent 10 years ago, we just put music in it, whatever we wanted from Alex's repertoire. And I just asked permission, can I use this and this and this song? And Alex was just yeah, I don't care. So we just did, and I was just figuring out the BPM of the music and making the enemies like move in a pattern according to the music and the HUD elements and everything. And people probably don't even think about it, but it's there to kind of get you going with the game. And with Savant Ascent Remix, we didn't really, since Alex did a whole soundtrack for that game, we didn't really do it the same way. Now we more built the levels around the mood of the music. So you'll have the dark themed one, which we call the Catacombs, which was entirely different from anything we've made like level wise before.
Yeah, part of the challenge with making Remix to begin with was the initial blueprint of the game was we wanted to expand the endless mode of the original because that had a lot of potential. And then we started looking into what we could do for the levels. So we started with the standard level. And in the original Savant Ascent, we had the DLC, which was the Void update. And for that, when we were in space, there was, of course, the samurai. But I themed all the enemies after, like, space ninja things. So you had the sort of ninja drills, and you had the sort of reed hat, saw blade kind of enemies. All of that was meant to sort of have that same theme. But when we made Remix, we used a lot of the same enemies for stage 1, and we had some left over before we got to the space level. One of them being the saw hat enemies. And then I started thinking about, like, what can we do to give a unique flavor to every level? And we discussed it a little bit back and forth. So the second level, we thought about the saw blades and how they could maybe move the elevator. And that became, okay, so saw blades, let's do something industrial.
Yeah.
Something with like big gears and everything. And then we got into the catacombs. And then it was like, what can the gameplay be for that area? Well, it's really unique if you can't see everything. How can we turn that into a gameplay gimmick? And then, of course, since you're taking the light out, let's do spooky enemies. That still has that enemy element of, like, they're being made from materials.
Yeah.
Because the entire theme of the game is the Philosopher's Stone just melds stuff together that is grabbed. And how can we turn that into sort of like a spooky looking amalgamation of something.
With the music in mind, I mean, designing the final boss, the samurai, was the most interesting aspect. Because in the original game, I used the Overkill song, and I synced all of his attacks with that song, and it was just a repeating pattern. But Savant Ascent Remix, we decided to make like 3 different stages, each with their own unique song. So now suddenly he has like faces and stuff and doing all these bonkers, and that's when the music really, you know, started taking center stage. So in the final part of the game, that's when the music really, you know, kicks off.
Yeah, I am very happy about that fight though. I've heard from other developers that they looked at that as sort of a source of inspiration for how they could do sort of action attack that are very well choreographed. So
yeah.
I'm very happy with how that turned out.
Yeah. And now, here's Simon answering your burning questions live from Japan.
Hi, I'm back from Japan. Wasn't that an interesting question?
Question from Ringo. Do any of the characters in the game have any known last names? Just curious.
I don't know. Because that goes into a lot of elements about how the culture of the Owlboy universe would function.
Yeah.
I think, personally, probably, at least for the area that Owlboy takes place in, it's less about last names and more about family crests.
Yeah.
Because one thing that's a reoccurring element from every Owlboy character, or at the very least from every Owl character, is that they're part of a particular house, and the crest of their house is shown in a ton of different things that they wear. The most obvious one, of course, is their owl cloak. So you can tell a lot about what their heritage is. But sometimes those symbols are put on other things as well. So if you want to know what someone's heritage is, like who are my parents, who are my grandparents, and all of that, and what do we represent, and what what ideas do we want to forward further, you can just look at their crests.
Yeah.
Either how they're evolved or how much representation there is of that particular crest in their lineage.
So I guess for Otis it would be like Otis of the house of.
Yeah, I think so. Or rather, it would be like Otis, and he would sign it with his official crest.
Yeah.